So Joyner Lucas and Tory Lanez had a bit of a rap competition between each other recently, and we got 4 new tracks / freestyles out of it. They've made it clear that there's no beef between them, and it's pretty much just something that they did for fun, and I can appreciate that. It was pretty fun to watch it go down, and I hope more rappers do something like this. It really seems like Tory Lanez is looking for his next kind of opponent, if you will. So I'll be ranking all of these tracks today and giving my reasoning for each one, and then at the end I'll pick kind of like an overall winner, because it definitely seems like this beef is over now. So with that being said, this is CDTV. Help me on my journey to hit 10k followers on Twitter by the end of the year. I know we can do it. You guys can help me do it. We're gonna get it. We're gonna smash those goals. And with all that being said, let's just jump straight into talking about these tracks.
Slingshot, you my son. It's the last time I give you a ring pop. Sit down, you're on punishment. And don't get up until you see me. And don't even think about touching that TV. No more video games, no more phone, no more 3D.
It really does pain me to put one of Joyner's 2 tracks last here, but this was unquestionably the weakest for me, and there's quite a few reasons for that. First of all, a lot of the actual diss lines here are either weak or repeated from Joyner's earlier diss at Tory, whether it was Joyner comparing Tory to Drake, making fun of his height or his appearance, and unfortunately a bunch of bars which are incredibly non-specific and honestly just sound like they were moved from an unrelated track to this one to pad out the runtime. And as for the whole Joyner rapping as Tory's dad thing, well, here's a visual representation of how I feel about that. I feel like there was only a couple lines that were actually fresh and good as insults. For example, I think the best one was when Joyner Lucas pointed out how Tory Lanez basically ripped off The Art of Peer Pressure by Kendrick Lamar, being so kind as to give us a specific timestamp to go to hear the similarities. For those who haven't heard it, this is The Art of Peer Pressure by Kendrick.
Me and my niggas 4 deep in a white Toyota, a quarter tank of gas, 1 pistol and orange soda. Janky stash box when the federales a roll up.
And this is 4am Flex by Tory Lanez.
Me and the homie pull off the corner inside of an old Honda Accord. The feeling feel like a torture, the nigga that we just robbed.
Being someone who doesn't listen to Tory that much, this was something that I didn't know about, so it was actually an interesting line that I got value from, whilst also being a genuine criticism of Tory. And the line playing off of Tory's real name being Daystar gave me a little bit of a chuckle, but I could probably count the amount of lines that I think were good as disses here on one hand. And what makes this even more disappointing is that this was the last track in the whole series, as the beef is seemingly over now. It came after Tory's Litty Again freestyle, which was great, and Joyner responding with this fairly weak track made it feel all the more mediocre. I get why it's like this too. Joyner said on Instagram Live that he wanted to change the vibe and make a track that disses Tory, but could also be played in a club, for example.
The Zeze beat, that shit just been in my head, so I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna shift the dynamics. I'm gonna make it where it's not, you know, like I kind of wanted to change the vibe so that I could play the shit at any time, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could play that shit in the club, you could play that shit, you know what I'm saying? So I wanted to shift the vibe.
But what is the point of that? Writing with that mindset, you're pretty much setting yourself up to have the worst track out of the 4, because then it comes across as unfocused and confused. And if you're from America, please let me know, is this something they're gonna play in a club anyway? Because they definitely wouldn't in the UK. It doesn't apply to that setting over here. So yeah, there's no semblance of doubt in my mind. This was the worst track to come out of this rap competition. In my mind, Joyner really disappointed with this one.
Hit him with a mini mag, is he really that bad that I gotta hit him with a bigger gap? Matter of fact, riddle me that. I'm literally at the spot that he said to be at, but where's he at? Like, really, nigga, is you really telling me that? Like, I ain't prepared to hit him with a felony act. Like, what you thought I would never react?
This was the first track that came out here, and Joyner basically flexed over the Lucky You beat and showed Joyner Lucas that he could rap just like he can, showing off some crazy rhyme schemes and flows. I loved this because, like I said, I don't listen to that much Tory, so I didn't know he could chop it up like this and rap a verse this hard. I feel like that surprise factor really added a lot to my enjoyment of this track. This freestyle was to the point, impactful, and it really left me looking forward to seeing what Tory was gonna do next. Honestly, I didn't even want this one to end. It could have went on for another minute or so, and I wouldn't have complained. But I mean, the length does work perfectly for what the track is. Now this was incredibly solid, but I didn't rank it above the 2 Litty freestyles because this wasn't written as a diss track, and I feel like the diss track aspect makes these even more entertaining. Tory pretty much wrote this to try and prove that he could out-rap Joyner and do his fast rapping rapping style just as well as he could, and Tory did fantastic in that aspect, but the lack of any lines poking fun at Joyner stops me from ranking it higher than my top 2 picks.
Bring all your products who's back to Lee Chain. Take all that auto-tune back at T-Pain. I swear you R&B rappers are strange. You're okay, but you ain't nobody favorite. You alright, but you ain't nobody major.
Now this was easily better than Joyner's Zeze track. The bars were focused, there was a lot of great lines, and the flows were all pretty great across this too. Honestly, my only complaint is that some of the flows here do sound similar to some of Joyner's recent tracks. For example, the fast part on this song, it sounds exactly like the fast part of Winter Blues.
Nigga, I've been packing a black Mac with a wrapped in a backpack with a stack in a Mad Max in the back of the black cab and a cat in a snapback. For the life of your trash ass, and I might get the last laugh, gonna fight if you backstab, but a knife in your backpack. All my life I've been jabbed at, but I fight like a Mad Max.
But other than that, I really can't complain. One thing I love about Joyner's lyrics here is he honestly nails the exact reason why I don't like most of Tory's music. Those reasons being that he's okay as a rapper in a lot of his songs, but not amazing, and the fact that he sounds very similar to other people in his songs, namely Drake. I got really hyped when I first heard that line because the Drake comparison is so clear to me on the Tory songs that I've heard. Joyner rags on his music a lot, saying people compare Joyner to Eminem, whereas Tory's more likely to be compared to Iggy Azalea, a heavy diss if there ever was one. And yeah, he really does throw some fairly heavy shots for what is a friendly beef. Oh yeah, I almost forgot, there's just one particular line I could really do without, and it's this one.
Me and 6ix9ine had trippy red bitch on the couch. She was giving us threesome, nigga.
I'm sorry, but I don't think there's anything that can kill the mood more than looking across from you in a threesome and seeing the Latino rainbow with a 69 on his forehead staring back at you, gummy teeth and all. That line gave me chills, but apart from that, Joyner hit Tory with some heavy blows here and hit him with some bars that had a lot of truth to them. Joyner really came through and did his thing on this one.
Wait till my niggas in heaven, I'm about to send them away. I'm exhausted, I killed this nigga 2 times, 24 hours, man, this shit been a repetitive day. Nigga tell me, is it Joyner Lucas Joyner, I'm the nigga who destroyed.
And here we have what I consider to be the best out of the 4 tracks released here. Tory honestly blew me away with this one. This was the longest out of all of them, but that doesn't mean that Tory artificially inflated the length of this one in any way. He makes sure that most of the bars here stay directly targeted at Joyner Lucas. It did have some new disses, but most importantly, it had good clapbacks to some of the stuff that Joyner Lucas said on his Litty freestyle, which came out before this one. For example, Tory addresses that really bad threesome with 6ix9ine line by saying this.
You fucked Alex, man, this shit crazy. Nigga said he out here running threesomes with the nigga that's a court dealing with the kid cases.
I have to commend him for that. That was a solid way to twist that line around and discredit it. As for some of the new disses, you know the whole rapping as if I'm your dad thing that Joyner did on Zeze? Well, that was a response to Tory doing it on here, but it's definitely done a million times better on this track. The scenario Tory describes here sounds much more realistic than the Joyner Lucas one, and that makes it significantly stronger and a lot less corny. There definitely still are some bars that I disagree with, or that are just wrong though. Like when he said that Joyner's depression songs didn't get noticed, when in reality, I'm Sorry is one of his biggest songs, and one that introduced him to a lot of people. He also says Joyner doesn't even have 1 platinum plaque, but the song Lucky You, which Joyner featured on, went platinum nearly a week ago, meaning that even though it's not strictly his song, Joyner will get his own plaque for that. But those are just some small grievances. The lyrics are mostly solid throughout. And even though this is a beat that Tory has already rapped over as he was featured on the original version of Litty by Meek Mill, that didn't really hold the track back for me. At certain points, some extra instruments were thrown in there, like these angelic sounding piano keys, and the overall vibe of it is so different to the original verse that Tory did on Litty, so it still feels fresh. Tory just went super hard on this one, and I really do think this is the best track to come out of this whole thing. The fact that he wrote this so fast makes it even more impressive. This is just an incredibly solid track. Well, now it's time to pick a winner, as Tory and Joyner pretty much consider this thing as being over now, and like I even said at the start of the video, it seems like Tory is trying to find his next opponent, even calling out people like Pusha T, so this one is definitely over for now. And looking at how I've ranked these tracks, it's pretty obvious now who's won to me. Joyner had the worst track, Tory had the best track. Joyner had 1 great track, Tory had 2 great tracks. For me, Tory definitely takes the W here. I didn't think that would happen when this whole thing kicked off, because as a lot of you guys know, I am almost on stan levels of love for Joyner Lucas's music, and like I said in this video, I'm not a huge fan of Tory's music, but Tory really blew me away with his performances here. It's interesting because if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time that Joyner Lucas has got involved in a kind of beef where he's went back and forth with another rapper with full-on diss tracks. And in my opinion, Joyner lost this one, so he's pretty much lost the first full-on beef that he's been involved in. I feel like Joyner could have won this as well if he dropped a nuke after Tory Lanez' Litty freestyle instead of the very small hand grenade that he threw out with the Zeze freestyle. But nonetheless, it was really fun to watch this go down. It's really fun to talk about, so shout out to both Joyner Lucas and Tory Lanez for having this little competition and making hip-hop just that little bit more exciting this month. So that is all I got to say for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and of course, let me know down in the comments below who you think won this beef, how you would rank the tracks, and who do you think Tory Lanez is going to take on next. Like I said, you can follow me on Twitter at CDTVProductions. We're trying to hit 10,000 followers on there before the end of 2018. Also, my twin's reaction to all these tracks will be linked down in the description below if you want to see how he felt about all these at first. So that's all I have to say for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching this one. I'll see you all in the next video, and this is CDTV Productions, signing out.